Welcome to Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. It's like coffee with an analyst, or it could be whiskey with an analyst reading a spreadsheet, linking crime events, identifying a series, and getting the latest scoop on association news and training. So please don't beat that analyst and join us as we define the law enforcement analysis profession one episode at a time.
Thank you for joining me. I hope many aspects of your life are progressing. My name is Jason Elder, and today our guest has almost 35 years of law enforcement analysis experience, with 40 years of law enforcement experience overall, all with the Victoria Police Department. He is currently a Sergeant Supervisor Analyst and a former VP of Membership with the IACA. He is an awesome Aussie analyst here to represent the great continent of Australia. Please welcome Roman West. Roman, how are we doing?
G'day, Jason. How you going?
I'm doing very well. How is Australia right now?
Oh, well, we're now just at the start of the summer season, so you could say, Christmas for us is summer here, and where you guys have got the winter for Christmas. So we've got a sort of a bright summer Christmas, and you've got the different type of Christmas, a white Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to anger people if we talk about temperature and everything else where you are now sitting in shorts and a t-shirt when most of the U.S. is all bundled up right now.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate.
Very good. Well, it's great to have you on the show. For the listeners, as normal, we're going to go through Roman's contributions to the profession and get his perspective on law enforcement analysis. So, Roman, how did you discover the law enforcement analysis profession?
It goes back after a couple of years. I was in uniform, so I joined in 1985, graduated February 1986 from the Victoria Police Academy, and then went into general duties, patrols, the usual sort of thing, patrolling crime, investigating crimes, the usual thing. And then an opportunity came up in about 1990 with a local area for me, which is the suburb of Footscray. And it was called at the time, called the Police Ethnic Unit. It's a multicultural unit. And because I'm from, multicultural background, I've got Greek, Polish in my blood, you could say. And so they thought, oh, yeah, you could speak a bit of Greek and whatever like that. But Footscray was a big area. It was an area where they had issues with drug crimes and assaults and thefts, all sorts of things happening around that time. And it was a very multicultural unit. We had a lot of multicultural people coming in from Southeast Asia and mainly living in the area at the time. And so I joined this unit, and one of the guys that was there, he was there at the time, and he was sort of like what we called the collator. So he was there. He'd know all the faces around the area. He had the old pinboard maps, marking out the crimes. He had photos on the board to say who's who in the zoo. And so that got me interested, and that's where I sort of started it off. I started, part of our job was being as an analyst or collator at the time, is you go out and you meet the people, you talk to them, you find out what's going on. So it was a bit of an intelligence sort of thing, but you got to know the community, you got to know the faces, and that's how it got me interested into crime analysis as such, as what it was at the time. And then from that point on, I eventually moved on after a couple of years, and I went into a specialist crime group, and took the position of the sworn crime analyst of the team. And I worked with another person there, and she was a mentor to me, Brenda Stork. I remember how she mentored me really well. And I learned a lot of things because our area was very heavily involved in as high up as organised crime and things like that. But we were sort of based on the medium level of crime investigations within the area at the time. That's how I sort of got started into crime analysis, Jason.
So I guess even going back before you became a sworn officer, did you always want to be in law enforcement, or was there something else that prior to becoming an officer, you wanted to be?
Yeah, that was it. I was a cadet. I was an Air Force, Australian Air Force cadet, and I got to the rank of flight sergeant sort of thing, and I got my flying. I was able to fly. I learnt to fly with the cadets. And one of my friends there, his father was in the police force. He was actually in the police air wing at the time. He wasn't a pilot, but he was an observer in there. And then he, like father, like son, he says, "Oh, Dad, what am I going to do?" So he joined the police force about a year before I left before I joined. He goes, "Oh, mate, you've got to come and join me. Come and do it with me." And I go, "Okay." I thought about it. My dad was sick at the time. I was firstly looking at joining the Air Force. I looked at being a pilot. Then I go, "No, don't want to be a pilot." Then I looked at being a navigator. I go, "No, wasn't interested in that." But then I caught my eye of a airborne electronics analyst in Australia. We used to have the P3 Orions, and they're the little guys who sit in the back, the analysts that sit at the back. So maybe I was wanting to be an analyst all along.
Yeah, that's fascinating, actually, that you gravitated towards that position, and that definitely foreshadowed where you ended up.
Yeah, it did. It's sort of, it's strange, but you may say that, I've had an interest in it probably in childhood as well.
Yeah. Now, fast forward to when you were becoming an analyst, at the time you're talking about the 90s or the early 90s, so we still got maps on the wall, we still got pinned maps, things are being printed out. It's not so much electronic, no websites and are not really a thing at the moment. A lot of paper being shuffled around. You mentioned about getting out and talking with people and getting away from the desk a little bit. At that point in time, it was probably a little bit easier not to be tied to the desk because there was not that much going on for the analysts in terms of what was on the computer.
Yeah, that's right. But we didn't have computers at the time. We weren't tied to computers. weren't really known. The only thing was there was what we called an old patrol system, which was just a teletext machine that spat out daily information about what was going on, whereabouts, wanteds, that sort of thing. And that gave us the opportunity to go out. But come to think of it, Jason, you've got to look at it. Even these days, you've got to go and see what's going on outside. You can't see it from a desk. You've got to go out and physically see it to understand what you're trying to analyze, what you're trying to look at. Yes, we've got computers. Yes, we've got all these things. But you know what? Human interaction by going out and seeing and physically talking to people is one of the important things of analysis, I believe.
Yeah. So your mentor, what was your mentor's name again?
Brenda Stork. She was the one first person you could say that really got me going. But there was another one that really stands to mind is Frank Scammell. I met him when I did my first primary analysis course, and he is a legend in Victoria. And probably, if you look him up, he's very legendary in his way in what he did with crime analysis. He was a giant. He still is.
Yes. So what did he do in particular?
Who, Frank, you're talking about?
Yeah. What made him legendary?
Well, look, there was some serious crimes, some serious investigations, murder investigations, and things like that. And he was the lead analyst in all of these things. He's basically the father of crime analysis in Victoria for us. Even now that they have named an award after him for Victoria Police.
No. So back then, you're just starting out. You have these mentors, you have these people that are showing you the ropes. Let's go back to that time in your head. What are some things that you're really excited about? What are some things that you're frustrated with, that you're working on, and maybe have a little tougher time with when it comes to your role as an analyst?
Yeah, well, look, just going around that time, you could say I eventually got seconded to the drug squad. And I got there, and I was sitting there, and I was basically twiddling my thumbs. They said, "Oh, yeah, come and do some experience at the drug squad." Okay, and I sat there twiddling my thumbs, didn't know what was going on, didn't know what was happening. Had detectives going in and out. They were on surveillance. They were doing their investigative work and everything, but they wouldn't talk to you at times. And so, one day I just said, "G'day, I'm Roman. Here you go. What are you up to? What are you going out to?" "Oh, we're just going out to investigate. We're doing some surveillance. We're sitting off a place and we're just doing some things." "Oh, okay. Anything of interest there?" And they go, "Oh, no. This went on for a couple of days." And when they come back, "How'd you go?" "No, still nothing." But eventually they got sick of me, and they every morning I sort of say that. Yeah, you've got to be persistent. That's the thing. This is the point of it all. Persistence. So I was persistent, and I said, "Mate, tell me something. What can I help you with? Is there anything that I can help you with?" Well, they go, "Well, look, we're trying to identify one particular person. We don't know who it is. We've heard him. We've sort of seen him. We We just don't know who he is. We're not sure if we've seen him. He's a ghost to us, but he's a vital piece of this big, importation of drugs. And at those times, they were coming in for Southeast Asia and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I kept going. So they fed me a little bit of information. So in the morning, so I'll get there. No worries. Thanks for that. I'll see what I can find. So that day, I got stuck into it. Did my research. Did my collation. Did my analysis, and I probably picked out a couple of people. And then I go, look, what do you think of that? They came back that day. They go out for their 8-hour shift. They come back. I go, what do you think of this person? And they go, this is interesting. And they said, let's see what we can find. Let's see what happens. They went out, did a little bit more investigation on what I gave them, came back. This is the next day, come back and they go, you know what, this could be the person. I go, oh, that's interesting because he's a major importer, all known in another state, in New South Wales, not in Victoria. So this might be the person that you're looking at. And eventually it built up that I did identify the right person. Nice. And they were pleased. After that, basically, before I didn't have to say anything, but before they went out, they come up to me and they go, look, this is what's happening today. Have you got anything to tell us or whatever like that? And I'll be briefing them before they go out and when they come back in. So that developed a rapport between the investigators and the analyst, which is very important. Even though I'm sworn, I'm one of them sworn as well. I'm not a detective. I'm just a lowly analyst. But mate, after a while, there you go.
Yeah. Well, you brought value to them, right? It was something that they you can help us? Yeah, sign us up, right? I think a lot of times that new departments or new units, units that get new analysts aren't really sure exactly how to work with analysts, and we're not sure what he or she can do. So you gotta show your value.
Yeah, and you've got to introduce yourself. You've got to really introduce yourself. Look, you might not be the best fit for them, but eventually you will fit into what they need and what they want. You learn about it as you go along. And that's part of analysis too. You've got to analyse your people. You've got to analyse who you're dealing with. And that way they will get to trust you, you'll trust them, and you'll make the best of a team. And that's the other thing, being a team. You've got to be a team. You can't do this on your own. You have to be part of a team.
Yeah. Now, looking on a map here, Victoria is in the southeast corner of Australia. And you mentioned drugs. In terms of other crimes that you analyze, is it what we would expect similar here in the States? That you would obviously have drugs, you would have your violent crimes, might have your gangs. Those would be the similar types of activities that you would analyze?
Yeah, we got the outlaw motorcycle gangs. We got, if we're looking now, we got youth crime. It's a big issue at the moment. Vehicle theft. That's a big issue. You have syndicates that car industry here in Australia is virtually, there is none. It was, it ended about 5-6 years ago. But there was one time I was with Vehicle Crime Squad, and we were having issues with people coming in and stealing cars, or breaking into cars and just going through the glove box. And in particular, the Audis. And we're going, why are they going through the Audi glove boxes? So I looked into it and I'm trying to identify what was going on. And then, lo and behold, they had their fob keys in the glove box. Audis had a spare key to get into the car. So what car thieves were doing, they go and go through the glove box, find the key, even though they've broken a window. They've got the key. They come back a few, after the car's repaired and everything, and they've got a car they can take away straight away. So we had to basically tell the industry, hey, take the keys out of the glove box. Simple solution.
No problem-solving project there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and that's what it was. It was a big problem-solving project. Look, I had times. There's plenty of issues, but the thing is, we don't have, as you know, in Australia, we don't have big firearm issues. Yes, we've got firearms, but we don't have. What is it? The Fourth Amendment? Is that right? I'm trying to
Second Amendment. Sorry,
Second Amendment. Second Amendment. Yeah, you've got your Second Amendment. We don't have. After Port Phillip massacre that happened in Tasmania, which, as you see, is state south of us, the federal government decided to restrict gun control, and it was good. It's worked out well. Yes, we are all in Australia. We're all armed. Yes, we do still have issues with gun violence, but I don't think we have it as much as what you have in the United States. But still, we've got the same issues. We've a lot of the same issues that we have to do work on, and it's all analysis of it to do. Youth crime is one of the biggest issues for us at the moment.
Now, is there any issues that you feel are unique to your area that we might not see here in the States?
I think what happens in the US within about 5 years' time, or maybe late, I used to say within 5 years, we'll have the same issues here in Australia. And you know what? In all these years, from what I've noticed, yes, we give it 5 years, we'll have the same issues.
All right. Well, I'm just letting you know, COVID's coming.
yeah, it's coming again.
So we're gonna have to fast forward here a little bit, but I'm curious, as you get into we get moving into the 90s, into the aughts, even into the teens here, and you're developing as an analyst. Obviously, the office changes. You talked about not having computers readily available in 1990. Well, obviously computers are everywhere now, and so the position of analysis changes. So I want to get your viewpoint of that. As take us to like the aughts, or take us to the time when you saw significant changes with your office in terms of the analyst position.
Yeah. And that's when we started looking more into the data, because we collect a fair bit of data now, crime statistics, and we use those crime statistics to put into our analysis to try to do those predictions as to what and where these crimes are going to hurt. Hot spotting, mapping. We've just gone across from, in the last couple of years, so we went from Map Info to ArcGIS. So yes, we've had ArcGIS around for a long time, but the things that you can do with these programs is just so significant. I'm still learning. I'm constantly learning, because everything changes, as you say. And it's just so interesting how you do this. Like these things, you can just do it on a desktop, but I still see that even though you got these statistics, you've got to go, right, you're seeing there's a spike, you look at it and you go, all right, there's a spike, there's a pattern, there's a spike happening in this particular area. Hotspot. Why is it happening? You try to dig into what the narratives are saying, but some of these narratives, are very summarized. You don't get the feel of what's going on. And Noah Fritz, right? He's a very good friend of mine, and Noah's came out here to Australia one day. And he came out here to sort of teach a little bit on crime analysis. But one thing he said to me, and I agree with him, is we need to go out and physically see what's going on in the area. Why is this all happening? And just sit out there and just observe and hoover in, and get the vibes and feel what's going on. And that's what we did. There was a place that was just simple thefts. And go, why is it happening? It's a hot spot in this particular area. Why is it happening? So him and I went out there. We sat there for a couple of hours just observing, just watching life go by. And you can see, oh yeah, that's someone who could likely do it. Yeah, that's there. This could happen here or whatever. Oh, look at this, there's poor lighting or something like that. And you do these sort of things. You can't just sit in the office. You have to go out there as well and get that chance, the opportunity to go out there. And even for these, and I even say this for the unsworn people, they go out with a sworn officer or something, to go on a patrol, go out with them and see what's going on, observe. So that's the thing. But using the computers, you can get a great desktop observation. That doesn't give you everything. Yes, it's advanced, but we need to go out and get that physical side of it as well. And it's very important, I say.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, this brings us to your analyst badge story. And for those that may be new to the show, the analyst badge story is the career-defining case or project that Analyst works. And so we're at 2015, and you're dealing with a motorcycle gang.
Oh yeah, I was at Echo Task Force. This is a Victorian task force to do with outlaw motorcycle gangs. I got there about 2011 after I did a stint at Melbourne Airport with the airport uniform policing, the AFP. And the inspector and the senior sergeant and the superintendent in charge of the area sort of said, we need to do something to disrupt these outlaw motorcycle gangs. What was the best thing to do? And this is it. We sat with these upper level people because we were also their advisors. You're also an advisor to the higher levels, just to emphasize that. So anyway, they said, let's do a disruption exercise. Who had outstanding warrants? Who had issued firearms or something like that they shouldn't have, and whatever, because outlaw motorcycle gangs shouldn't have them, things like that. Who could have drugs? So we sifted through all our intelligence, and I think we gathered about 80 addresses. So 80 addresses. And we had about 5 days to put this together. We had to put together 80 warrants to do in one or simultaneous warrants it was in 1 week to be done in 1 day. So 80 warrants in 1 day. And we did a desktop basically collating all the intelligence, because affidavits have to be put on each and every one of these, you understand. So to obtain a warrant. So put before a court and says, yes, you're justified to, you've got enough reasonable grounds to justify to take out a warrant. So we had to do 80 search warrants. And mind you, out of those 80 warrants, we had a team of analysts. So I was included in it because I was at Echo. I wasn't a sergeant at the time, but pretty senior analyst there. We had a team of about 4 or 5 analysts. So together we compiled preparations for 80 warrants to be executed. And mind you, we had no surveillance to go out there. We had no one to go out there because we rely on surveillance or whatever to go out there to make observations on these addresses, to verify address. We did it as a desktop. That's where the computers came in. 80 warrants, and I think we missed probably about 6 or 7 places which weren't correct addresses. So can you imagine trying to do that, to compiling 81? And that was a record at the time.
How many analysts were working on this project?
Probably about 5 of us. So what's that? 10, 15, almost 10, 15 warrants each, addresses, and you compile a lot. You've got to remember everything you need to get. You need to get their phone numbers. You need to get their persons who are living there, any cars, vehicles, all sorts of things that you had to gather, any other information that can go to that particular addresses. And as you know, some of them didn't give their right addresses. So we had to identify these. So it worked.
Yeah. Well, you also have to give any background for potential threats against the officers, right?
Yeah, safety. That's one of the biggest things yes, and that's the one thing that we had. So it's always whenever we compile these, you can compile it as a profile on a person, but you have to do a safety background to say, well, look, are there likely firearms at these premises? Are there someone who can bring them in, or something like that? And these are all outlaw motorcycle gangs members, and they've got the chance and opportunities to have these available to them. So putting the risk factors together, you're right. That's what we had to do.
Now, do you remember how many arrests were made, or how many people were then brought in? Because as you mentioned, you have these 80 warrants that you're about to enact, and then obviously you have the aftermath, which is that next wave of work that you would have to do.
I can't remember exactly, but I think the media did report something. They said that we executed so many, but to be honest, Jason, I can't remember as to exactly how many. There was a media release on it. I do remember that. But I cannot recall exactly how many. But it was success. It was a success. It did the disruption what was supposed to do. So that's part of it. You work with detectives, and part of it, if you can't catch them all at the time, you disrupt their networks, and that's what we did. We disrupted their networks.
Yeah, and then they're doing interviews, and you get more information, more intelligence, more stuff to analyze.
Correct, and that's what we ended up. We ended up having a debrief sheet added onto it. So, look, it wasn't not every time we did bring everyone in, or not everything, but we had a simple debrief sheet that we compiled together with the results of what happened. Yeah. And then we looked at that overall, which helped us in the future for any other type of things that we need to do.
Nice. So, are you ready to do that again?
Yeah, I mean, there's times that they're thinking about it, but I think they've only done one similar one just recently. But yeah, you know what? Disruption exercise is worth it. It does come. It does come because, like you said, the biggest thing about it is that the information that you gather at the end of it is valuable to an analyst. It might mean it's that missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
That's where it is. It's that missing piece. Yeah, it might mean nothing to you, might mean nothing to someone else or me, but to someone else out there, that's that missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle that we bring together as analysts too.
Yeah, I like that reference of the jigsaw puzzle. That's a good reference there.
Hi, this is Steve French, and I have a little phrase for you to remember. A phrase that stuck with me throughout my time as an analyst is a quote from Sherlock Holmes. When you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Hi, this is Dr. Carlina Orozco from the Tempe Police Department, Arizona State University. And my public service announcement is that correlation does not equal causation. If you find that certain things are occurring that may be contributing to a decrease or an increase in crime, for example, that gives an opportunity to investigate it a little bit further to see if possibly there are things contributing. But it does not mean that one thing caused the decline or the increase. It just means that there's an opportunity to explore it a little bit further.
What's going on, analysts? My name is Manny San Pedro. I'm the technology director for the IACA. And here is my public service announcement for analysts. Don't become overly reliant on Excel. Use it to analyze and break down your data. It's a fantastic tool. Fantastic. And it's free as part of the Microsoft Office offering. But don't use it as a database. Use a database as a database. Connect to the database with Excel, and then use it for your pivoting, for all your slicing and dicing, even developing your dashboard. But again, don't use Excel for everything because it may not be the best tool for you.
Hi, I'm Svetlana Gubin, business analyst from Oakland Police Department, and my advice, don't afraid to discover something new. Just try, do some small steps, find the people who can support you, and it will help you in regular life, in your future job, and you will be surprised how more doors will open to you.
Do you enjoy being a supervisor?
Well, yeah, actually, now this is where it's sort of I enjoyed myself just being the normal everybody under a supervisor. That's where I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed cutting it, but it got to a stage that I go, I've learnt so much. I want to impart it on other people, and the only way to do that is to become a supervisor. And so now that I'm a supervisor, I do impart this knowledge and help others. Look, there's so many analysts out there, both sworn and unsworn, in my area. They're brilliant, and they're sometimes better than me. But they do look upon you and go, look, your wisdom, your knowledge, you've been there so long. You've seen what's going on. It's important to impart that knowledge onto them, and that's how I'm doing it. I've got a couple of young, members there. They haven't even done their analyst course. They haven't even qualified at the analyst course. But I'm imparting the knowledge, like I say, giving them ideas, and they are learning. They're hoovering it up, and at the same time, they're showing me some stuff that I'm going, geez, I'm amazed in what you're doing. As we said, we come in from the pinboard, the photos on the board, things like that, the old photos and everything like that, to the big map, printed map. Now they are just blitzing it, but they're showing. But you know what? It comes back to what we originally did. It comes back to that pinboard. It's an improvement on a vast improvement on what we used to have. And being a supervisor, I'd love to impart these things. And the one story that I'll give them, because sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm not important. I'm just an analyst. I've got nothing to do. And there's a story that I go, and like I said earlier, I wanted to join the Air Force. I'm talking about that P3 Ryan, the analyst at the back, the airborne analyst at the back. Now that person sits at the back. He's looking at a radar screen, and he sees an interesting ping that happens to the just behind him because they're looking 360 degrees. So they look at it and they go, oh, this is important. We need to look at it. We need to analyze what it is. It's important. They go to the navigator, who's like a supervisor. Hey, we need to navigate to this particular spot, location, to see what it's all about, because it's a very interesting piece of information that we need to obtain.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the pilot. Pilot, you've got to fly us around there to your best ability, make sure that everyone's safe on the aircraft. And so I see the pilot, he's just a glorified chauffeur driver. We analysts at the back, even though we don't get the glory of it and all to identify what these things are, we're the most important. We actually tell and direct everyone else what to do in a sort of discreet way. And it's really good. I enjoy that. And that's how I say to the others, you are that important analyst at the back. Don't worry about the glory and everything like that. They go out there, and the detectives and supervisors, whatever, they're out the front and being on the cameras and everything in the front face. But you know what? You are still the most important person there to the whole system. You are the one who whispers into the ears of our management and everything like that to tell them what we should be doing. And they do take your advice. Even though they're up front, they take your advice. And that's the best thing about it. You've got the best job in the world, to be honest.
Yeah, the forgotten analyst. So
Correct.
So I guess as a supervisor, what are you seeing from the next generation of analysts? I mean, what do you spend a lot of time with that supervisor role? I'm kind of curious what they're struggling with and what you have to take time to teach them.
Yeah, well, what I think they're struggling with is they're too often yes people. They say, yes, I'll do anything. A detective comes up to them and goes, I just need a profile. And they'll go, yep, I'll do it straight away. And they get one, and they get a beautiful, well-presented product. Tells everything about the person or about a location or something like that. They provide it to the detectives. The detectives takes a look at it. Yeah, no worries, thanks, and just puts it to the side. Or you can almost say just files it away into the bin. I keep saying to these young analysts, I said, don't be just that yes person. Ask the question, why do you need it? What's the purpose of what you're going to be doing? Because some of those products that they're asking for may be useless to them. You, as an analyst, may have a better suggestion for them as to how they can obtain what they're looking for. Unless they explain that what they're looking for, don't go yes all the time. Just say, no, I'm not going to do that for you. I know a better thing that'd be better for you. And and if they persist on it, well, guess what? Sometimes you may have to go right. Oh yeah, but we still want that profile. Okay, but produce that other product alongside it, because then they might look at that other product. They might look at that other product and go, oh, geez, I should have looked at this product. I should have asked for this one rather than just that profile. All I was doing was just ticking the box as a detective. I'm just ticking the box off as an investigator. That's just ticking the box off for me. I just need it because it says, must have a profile on the person. But what they were actually looking for was how were they going to solve what to the part of the investigation. You give them that breadcrumb to go, here's that thing. It's up to the investigator to identify the evidence. You show them what may be evidence, but it's them to identify and present that evidence to a court of law, not the analyst. So don't always be that yes person. That's one of the biggest things that I sort of say to the young analysts these days. Don't always be that yes person.
Yeah, I think it's even more important today and moving forward. Analysts are getting more and more access to data, and you need to be able to focus and make the decision on what's the biggest bang for your buck. Where's the best way to spend your time? The next 2 hours, what's the best way? Because as an analyst, you may have 50 tools in front of you. You're going to need to know as much information as possible in order to process and decide which tool to use or which database to search or what data to gather.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Jason, is the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Because the there's so many times we just overcomplicate things. Keep it simple. That's the idea, the KISS principle. And if that way, you will produce your best product by keeping it simple. But complicating it won't do it any good. You've got to remember, when it comes to the court, you've got to present the investigators and the lawyers, whatever they've got prosecution, they've got to present these to the court. And the jury's the ordinary layman. They never have encountered this. And if you present them a very complicated document or something, or present them very complicated data, they're not going to understand it, are they? So they're not, it's not going to go towards the prosecution. It's going to go in favour of the defence, because they go, oh, we don't understand this, so we're going to ignore this. So go back, keep it simple. That's my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about IACA now. As I mentioned in your intro, you're a former VP of membership. So you were VP of membership from 2007 to 2009. And I think it's interesting during that time, for those that may not be aware, the way the board worked, it was a cohort. So everybody was elected at the same time. And so you had this team that was all elected together, as opposed to today where they have the different positions staggered. So you have the teams a little bit evolving over the years. So you had Christopher Bruce as president. Susan Hammond was VP of admin. You had Erica Pine as treasurer, and secretary was Carolyn Cassidy. Which, everybody but Erica I've interviewed for this show. So I'm curious, first off, is like, just take us back to your time as VP of membership, and just talk about your involvement and some of the things that you accomplished.
Yeah, well, see, at the time, the only other person that I knew at the time was international, was from Canada. That was Lon Verne. He was a Canadian. I believe he was a secretary at the time at one stage, and there was no one else international. So I go, well, and I'm glad I got onto the board, because what I tried to do is try to bring the international into the IACA. It says International Association of Crime Analysts, not North American or South American or whatever like that. It's International Association of Crime Analysts. So I tried to, that's when I was with the VP membership, I think we started to have a huge increase, because I think people noticed, hold on, there's someone international. I was an Aussie. And every time I go to the conference, I'm always the most furthest travelled to the conference, believe it or not. The Aussie turns up from the furthest travel. Oh yeah, there's Roman. He's here again. Because it's difficult for me to always get to these conferences, because again, further. But international, that's the one thing that I think I tried to make sure to bring into the IACA. I emphasised the word international. I go, every time we had board meetings or something like that, and there was some discussion, and they're going, oh, we're doing a training on the certification, and it's doing all these things, and I'm going, well, have you considered about the international component of it? It's not always that you do the same processes that happen here in the US is the same. As you know, Australia has only got, for instance, 8 police forces. Right, each state and one federal agency, the 8 police forces, whereas the United States, was it over 17,000 different law enforcement agencies?
Yes.
So, and I'm saying in Australia, we tried to do the same sort of thing. In New Zealand, for instance, they're the same, the one police force. Well, I tried to bring the international, and I think Rachel's doing it too, because Rachel, who's now the current VP membership, and she's from the UK, and she does that as well. She tries to emphasise the international, and I'm pleased at the moment. From that time, I think that's when we really started to take notice that, hold on, we are international. That's what I saw. I don't know how much more it carried on after me, but now it is still the same. It is bringing that international understanding that there's not just North America. We've got European. We've got 7 different continents around the world that need to be brought together on one passion that we've all got, is crime analysis. So I think that's what I brought into the IACA at the time when I was there.
Yeah. Do you remember how many members there were around this time, 2007, 2008?
I think I increased it by about there was about, I think it was there was a slight, it was, I can't remember the figures, but I've got them in an old computer somewhere. I've got it somewhere. Yeah, but it was it was starting to go from we cracked the 2,000 mark, I think.
Yeah.
I
All
think
right.
I don't know what we got now. I've
It's
forgotten
seven.
what.
I think it's 7,000 now.
Yeah, well,
So
we
that's,
started getting over 2,000. So
yeah.
from that time, look how many years since then, we've now got triple that almost.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
started to, I did notice that I'm going every time I was reporting to the board, oh, yeah, we've had an increase in membership. We've had an increase in membership. So it was always getting there. And then again, I think I added that personal side of it too, because every night I remember every night I come home from work, do my day's work. I'll come home and I'll be on the emails looking at the memberships and dealing with the memberships all the time. So, and personally answering some of these people. So that was another thing that I probably added my own little touch to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, do you remember some of the issues that the board was dealing with, or some of the accomplishments that you were proud of?
Look, to be honest, it's been a long time since, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of those things. But the
Mm-hmm.
accomplishment is that we started to increase our thing. Oh, one thing I did change something in the wording because it was just crime analysis, and I had the word intelligence into it, because I said, like in Australia, we don't have just crime analysis. Crime analysis for us is both crime and intelligence analysis. It's not just two separate entities. So I added the one thing and saying, look, we've got to add intelligence. In Australia, we're one. We're crime analysts, crime intelligence analysts. It's one sort of job. It's not two different separate jobs where you have there in the US because of your legislation.
Yeah. And well, it's at around this time that you and I met. And you and I met, I believe it was at St. Pete conference in 2008.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually specifically, I think it was during the kickball game.
Correct.
Right? So for those that don't know, there used to be a kickball game that went along with the IACA conference. I can't remember how long it lasted, but I want to say there were 4 or 5 years there where at each conference we got together and played kickball. And so I met you on the beach at Florida playing kickball.
Yeah, and I remember the one. I think there was one we played kickball where was it? New Orleans.
Yeah.
And we were playing near the Mississippi River, and I think at one stage we almost kicked a couple of balls into the Mississippi River and lost them.
I think Joe Ryan was responsible for that. I want to say that he's told me that story a time or two about kicking balls into the river.
Yeah. I think we that was the one, but I really enjoyed it. I think there's some other times, I think Noah Fritz brought that in as well, just to get everyone a social together. And it'll be nice if we ever have it again. We're going back to Florida this year or next year, and it'd be nice to have another kickball competition again.
Yeah, that would be funny, because I want to say the one year Noah even brought in people that were not even conference attendees to play. Like, they were just at the park where we were playing, and they just Noah just invited them, like, do you want to play kickball with us?
Yeah,
and
we did.
We were even playing kickball with non-analysts. So
and that's that's the thing. It's talking to the community, being part of that community, get involved with them.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I've said this a couple times on this program, is that St. Pete conference in 2008 was one of my favorite conferences. I don't know if it was because I was new and I didn't have a lot of responsibility. I wasn't teaching. I remember just, going to classes, and then in the evening we would be playing beach volleyball, or it just seemed like the sun didn't set until like 10 o'clock p.m.
Right.
And it was just seemed like, man. Yeah, and we owned that hotel. It was a smaller hotel, but like 90% of the people that were staying there that week were for the conference. And there was just so much of it that I remember fondly, and just, again, learning, having a lot of fun, and meeting a lot of great people.
Bring back those times.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish up with personal interest then. And you enjoy trout fishing.
No, not shark fishing. Oh yeah, shark fishing. Oh,
Trout.
no. There's plenty of sharks out here in Australia. Don't worry about that. They just showed a video this morning of in Western Australia where a swimmer just unknowingly below him was this great white shark underneath them.
Oh,
So
man.
we're known for that. We're known for kangaroos hopping on roofs, going as high as a house roofs. They're jumping over them. So there's plenty of stuff going on here in Australia about that sort of stuff. But no, I enjoy a bit of trout fishing. So going out into fresh water, up into the highlands and things like that. So that's what I enjoy doing, a bit of that. That's sort of my relaxation, camping and going up to the high mountains and just sitting on a river or a stream and just throwing it in. If I catch anything, I don't care. It's a bonus if I do, but it's just the relaxation of that. That's for me.
Yeah, just listening to nature, right?
Yeah.
What do you normally use as bait for trout fishing?
Oh, well, you can use worms, or I use just lures. We got these things called striped tiger and lures, and they're just little sort of rubbery sort of things on the end, like insects, and you just toss them in and just bring it back in, and eventually they do catch on to them. But we call it. There's a place. There's a particular worm that we use. They're night crawlers, and they're called Janjuck worms. So anyone wants to look them up, they're here in Australia, Janjuck worms. And there's a guy who I follow on a YouTube channel called Robbie's Fishing, and he's well known for it.
Nice. Now, is it catch and release, or do you actually keep them?
No, I'm catch and release person. I'm a catch and release. It's just the enjoyment of like I said, I don't care if I catch nothing. It's just sitting there and I've got something, I'm twiddling with my hands, basically just throwing it out there and bringing it back in, or sitting there and just waiting for something to bite. That's all it is.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. It's just, especially when you're in the office setting, some days, and you're spending a lot of time inside. It's nice to get outside and just not be cooped in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the only other thing I'll probably do is just a bit of. I've got myself a new electric bike, so I've got a little cruiser and just ride around.
Yeah, and then just when you get tired, you just quit pedaling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. All right. Well, let's. How about Australia-isms? So in the States here, there's just some stereotypes for Australia. You mentioned kangaroos. Somehow we got the thought that everyone over there can drink a massive amount of beer, and that the beers are ginormous. That's one of those things that I don't know really if that's true or where that even came from. I remember when we were playing kickball, I would say Aussie, 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 and you would finish with
oi, oi, oi. That's the saying. Like you said, you do that Aussie, 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 and then you finish up oi, oi, oi. So those are the things. Yeah, look, there's so many people from over there who have not come to Australia, and I do recommend it. I do recommend, and you're just not just going to Sydney itself. There's plenty of other places to go to. Victoria's a nice place too.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. So, although another thing I think is, doesn't Australia have like 9 of the 10 most deadliest snakes in the world?
Oh, they did not say deadly. Come on. They're not deadly. We don't have deadly snakes. We know how to deal with them. They're nothing out here.
That's fake news. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Fake news. Yeah, no. We have some deadly snakes, but I wouldn't worry too much. As long as you leave them, they will leave you alone. That's the idea.
Yeah, I got you.
And spiders. Don't forget, we got spiders too, and everything like that. So plenty of them.
Oh man. All right. Well, yeah. Well, maybe we'll do some Christmas down there in Australia, and people can get away from the cold and enjoy the other side of the planet.
Yes. We'll try to get the IACA to host a conference here.
There you go. Well, IACA is going international next year. They're going to be in Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's interesting. So, see, now they're starting to move out. We should get them to come here as well.
Yeah, there you go. Sign me up for that plane ticket. So, Hey, Roman, thank you so much. It's been great catching up with you. We reconnected a couple years ago. I guess was that Dallas, the
That was
Dallas
Dallas.
conference.
I saw you there at Dallas, and you're trying to get me to go. Come on, Roman, you could come on to the show. I'll go. Oh. But,
Yeah, I'm patient. I'm patient. I get my list, and I am very patient. I wait very patiently to have people come on the show. So I am glad
Jason,
we had
you're
this
persistent
opportunity.
as well.
I
You're
have my moments,
persistent.
that's for sure. All right. So our last segment of the show is Words to the World, and this is where you can promote any idea that you wish. Roman, what are your words to the world?
As an analyst, don't be just a yes person. Always ask that question. And remember, an analyst is one of the most important person in crime investigations. Don't ever forget that. And that goes to everyone who's just even coming into this field.
I leave every guest with you've given me just enough to talk bad about you later. But I do appreciate you being on the show, Roman. Thank you so much, and you be safe.
No problems, mate. And greetings from the Down Under, all right? The land of Down Under, and welcome everyone to it.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. You can show your support by sharing this and other episodes found on our website at www.leapodcasts.com. If you have a topic you would like us to cover or have a suggestion for our next guest, please send us an email at leapodcasts@gmail.com. Till next time, analysts, keep talking.